Most people think the best way to handle an insult is a clever comeback, believing that if someone disrespects you, you must fire back immediately to protect your honor and prove you are not weak. But they are completely wrong. True power has nothing to do with getting the last word. Imagine you're driving on the highway, sipping your morning coffee, when suddenly a reckless driver in a massive pickup truck cuts you off, slamming their brakes, and then has the nerve to flip you off and scream an insult through their rolled-down window. Or perhaps you are sitting in a crucial meeting at the office, and a coworker casually drops a passive-aggressive remark about your performance that is clearly designed to make you look bad in front of the boss. Instantly, your heart races, your face flushes with heat, and your ego flares up like a sudden wildfire. That internal voice whispers frantically in your ear, urging you not to let them get away with that, pushing you to defend your pride. Roll down your window to shout back, or deliver a devastating comeback right there in the boardroom. You want to prove that you are not weak, that you cannot be walked over. Your brain goes into overdrive, frantically searching for the perfect, cutting response that will instantly make them regret ever opening their mouth. You feel an overwhelming urge to strike back and balance the scales. But hold on for a moment. What if firing back is actually the absolute worst mistake you could possibly make? What if that burning, desperate desire to retaliate is exactly what the other person is subconsciously banking on when you immediately react to an insult or an act of disrespect? You are walking blindfolded straight into what we call the ego trap. You see, most people operate under the illusion that handling an insult requires a rapid-fire defense, a display of dominance, or a clever counterattack. But they are completely wrong. When someone mocks you or disrespects you, their words are essentially just bait dangling on a hook. The very second you get angry, argue back, or try to put them in their place, you swallow that bait whole by reacting emotionally. You are instantly giving their meaningless words real power over your mind, and you are voluntarily surrendering control of your own internal state to someone who clearly does not have your best interests at heart. A legendary ancient philosopher who endured unimaginable hardships as a slave issued a powerful warning centuries ago that still rings true today. If someone can provoke you, and you hand them your peace of mind, you have essentially made yourself their slave. Think about how incredibly fragile most people are in our modern, hyper-connected society. A single negative comment on social media from a total stranger can ruin their entire morning. A coworker who says something slightly out of line can destroy their focus for the whole afternoon. We walk around every single day completely handing the invisible strings of our emotions to strangers, bad drivers, and internet trolls, letting them pull us in whatever direction they choose like marionettes dancing to their chaotic rhythm. But you are not meant to live as a puppet. The ego wants you to believe that standing your ground means shouting louder, hitting harder, and getting the last word. However, true strength is never loud, angry, or desperate for external validation. True strength is silent, grounded, and completely immovable. The ancient thinkers realized that there is a brief, crucial space between an insult being thrown at you and your reaction to it. And within that tiny fraction of a second lives your absolute freedom. The ego trap is specifically designed to make you bypass that space, forcing you to react automatically and emotionally. But when you force yourself to pause, you completely shatter the mechanism of the trap. You realize that the insult itself cannot actually touch you unless you voluntarily open the gates and let it inside. Next time that heat rises in your chest and your ego screams for a clever revenge, recognize that you are standing right on the edge of the trap, and know that taking a slow, deep breath and choosing not to engage is the ultimate display of untouchable power. Your dignity does not live in the opinions of a loud, unaware world. It lives entirely in your self-command. As the great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius reminded himself amid the chaos of ruling an empire, the absolute best revenge you can ever take is to simply not be like your enemy. Let us go back to that very moment in the boardroom or on the highway. You are sitting there, your heart pounding heavily against your ribs, absorbing the seemingly heavy impact of the insult that was just hurled in your direction. Your mind is racing, trying to process the disrespect, but pause and ask yourself a very clinical question. What actually just hit you? If you step back and objectively analyze the anatomy of an insult, what is it really made of? It is not a physical object. It has no mass, no sharp edges, and no actual ability to strike your body. An insult is literally just a person exhaling air from their lungs. That air is pushed up through a narrow windpipe, rattling against a set of vocal cords, and escaping through their mouth to create invisible sound waves. These waves travel through the empty space of the room or across the asphalt, and they lightly vibrate against your eardrums. That is the complete physical reality of an insult. It is nothing more than temporary vibrations in the air, yet, somehow, you are allowing these invisible, entirely harmless vibrations to completely dictate your blood pressure, ruin your professional focus, and make you question your own personal value. The words themselves do not have any magical ability to alter your reality or diminish your worth. The power they hold over you is entirely an illusion, and it is a power that you are voluntarily granting to them. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus pointed out centuries ago that it is never the things themselves that disturb human beings, but our own internal judgments about those things. When you deliberately strip away the heavy emotional weight that you have attached to an insult, you are left with simple, meaningless noise. When a rude stranger or a toxic coworker speaks harshly, you are essentially letting someone else's unhealed wounds, their stress, or their deep-seated insecurities travel through the air and infect your personal peace. Think about this concept rationally. If someone aggressively shouted an insult at you in a foreign language that you did not understand at all, their words would sound like absolute gibberish. You would not feel your face flush with anger. You would probably just look at them with mild confusion and simply walk away to continue your day. The sound waves vibrating against your ears are exactly the same, but your brain is not decoding them into a personal attack. This proves without a shadow of a doubt that the poison is not located in the sound itself. The poison is manufactured entirely in your own interpretation. You must learn to treat these verbal attacks exactly the same way you would treat a sudden gust of wind blowing a discarded piece of trash across a supermarket parking lot, or a car alarm blaring loudly 3 blocks down the avenue. It is mildly annoying for a brief second, certainly, but it is absolutely not something you would ever take personally. You would never drop everything you are doing to stand there and argue with the wind. Nor would you demand a sincere apology from a malfunctioning car alarm. You would simply acknowledge the distracting noise and continue walking toward your destination with a steady, unbothered stride. The next time that coworker drops a passive-aggressive remark, or that reckless driver shouts from the window of their truck, vividly visualize their words as fragile, hollow bubbles floating through the air toward you. You can choose to reach out and pop them, getting the sticky, dramatic mess all over your hands. Or you can remain perfectly still, breathing slowly, and watch them drop to the floor and vanish into absolute nothingness. The people insulting you are just projecting their own internal chaos outward, desperately hoping you will catch it and react. Do not catch it. You must refuse to serve as the dumping ground for their bitterness. By deeply recognizing this sound wave illusion, you instantly downgrade their hostile attack from a devastating emotional blow to a minor, irrelevant background noise. You keep your inner power completely intact, leaving them standing there, exhausting their energy shouting at a brick wall, while you remain absolutely untouchable. Let us look closer at that exact moment when you decide to catch those meaningless sound waves instead of letting them fall to the asphalt or the boardroom floor. You know that burning sensation in your chest, that overwhelming urge to defend yourself and show them you cannot be pushed around. So, you give in. You roll down your car window and scream back at the driver, or you deliver a sharp, cutting remark to your coworker across the meeting table. For one tiny fraction of a second, your ego feels a massive rush of adrenaline and triumph. You genuinely believe you have established dominance and protected your personal honor. But in reality, you have accomplished the exact opposite. You have completely surrendered your power. The ancient Stoic philosopher Epictetus used a brilliant and deeply unsettling metaphor to describe this exact dynamic centuries ago. He asked his students to consider why they walked around every single day voluntarily handing over the invisible strings of their own minds to anyone who asked for them. When you react with explosive anger to an insult, you are instantly transforming yourself into an emotional puppet. Think about how a wooden marionette functions on a theater stage. It has absolutely no power of its own. It only dances, kicks, and flails its arms when the puppet master standing above decides to yank the strings. When a stranger or a toxic colleague disrespects you, they are essentially dangling a string right in front of your face. The very second you let your heart rate spike, your face flush with heat, and your voice raise to match their chaotic energy, you have willingly grabbed that string and handed them absolute control over your nervous system. You have allowed someone who clearly lacks emotional maturity to become your personal puppet master. They pull the string of mockery, and you predictably perform the dance of insecurity. They pull the string of disrespect, and you immediately jump into the routine of blinding rage. You are no longer living your life on your own terms. You are merely reacting, spinning like a pinwheel in whatever direction the wind of their toxicity decides to blow. Epictetus issued a profound warning that remains incredibly relevant in our modern world. He stated that if someone can provoke you, and you hand them your peace of mind, you have essentially made yourself their slave. We often define freedom as a physical state, perhaps the ability to drive thousands of miles across the country, or the right to walk away from a bad situation. However, the Stoics understood that the highest and most difficult form of freedom is psychological sovereignty. It is the unbreakable mastery over your own internal environment. Why would you ever voluntarily abdicate the throne of your mind and hand the crown over to someone who cannot even regulate their own behavior? You must decide right now what kind of person you are going to be. Are you a sovereign ruler of your inner citadel? Or are you a helpless toy jerked around by the opinions of unaware people? The next time that familiar heat rises in your stomach and you feel the sharp tug of an insult trying to pull you out of character, vividly visualize that invisible string connecting their bitter words to your emotions, instead of letting them drag you into their personal storm. Take a slow, deliberate breath. Mentally reach out and cut that string. By choosing absolute silence and maintaining an unbreakable calm, you sever their access to your mind entirely. You leave them standing there, exhausted and ridiculous, holding a dead, limp piece of thread, while you walk away with your freedom, your dignity, and your power completely intact. Now that you have mentally cut the string connecting you to the puppet master, you must completely reevaluate the person who is actually trying to pull it. When you are sitting in that tense office meeting and a colleague directs a sharp, condescending remark your way, your ego immediately screams that this is a formal duel of honor between equals. Your pride demands that you engage, that you stand up and fight back to protect your professional reputation. But the ancient thinkers understood that treating an irrational attack as a challenge between equals is a dangerous and exhausting illusion. Imagine you're taking a peaceful walk down a quiet suburban street on a Sunday afternoon, enjoying the fresh air, when suddenly a large, aggressive dog runs up to a chain-link fence and starts barking viciously at you. Do you stop your walk, drop down to your hands and knees, and start barking back at the animal? Do you demand a sincere apology from the dog? Or spend the rest of your evening agonizing over what the dog thought of your character? Of course you do not. That would be completely absurd and a total waste of your vital energy. You logically recognize that the dog is simply making noise because making noise is precisely what agitated dogs do. Modern Stoic thinkers propose a brilliant mental framework for this exact situation. They suggest that we must learn to treat verbal insults, passive-aggressive comments, and everyday disrespect exactly like the barking of a dog behind a fence or the blaring horn of a car stuck in heavy traffic. It is merely chaotic background noise. It might be mildly unpleasant for a brief second. It might startle your nervous system initially, but it is absolutely not something that warrants your emotional investment, your anger, or your precious time. When someone insults you, they are essentially just barking. They are blindly projecting their own internal chaos, their deep-seated insecurities, and their unresolved frustration outward into the room. If you stop what you are doing, turn around, and engage in a bitter shouting match with them, you have completely lost your dignity. You have voluntarily climbed down into the mud to wrestle with someone who genuinely enjoys the dirt. The Roman philosopher Seneca pointed out centuries ago that a wise person does not take offense because a wise person completely understands that taking offense is always a voluntary choice. You are the ultimate and absolute gatekeeper of your own mind. No one can ever enter without your explicit permission. When you encounter that barking dog or that malfunctioning car alarm, you do not try to reason with it. You do not try to teach it a complex moral lesson, and you certainly do not let it ruin your peaceful afternoon. You simply observe the distracting noise, take a slow and deliberate breath, and continue moving forward toward your destination with a steady, unbroken stride. This is the exact mindset you must adopt the next time a toxic coworker tries to drag you into their personal drama, or a careless stranger tries to provoke you on the street. Recognize immediately that their harsh words are never a factual reflection of your worth, but rather a tragic reflection of their own internal struggles and their profound lack of self-awareness. By consciously labeling their hostile insults as meaningless background noise, you instantly strip the attacker of their perceived power. You build an invisible, impenetrable fortress around your inner peace. Your absolute silence and complete restraint become your ultimate victory, demonstrating clearly that your dignity does not depend on the chaotic opinions of a loud and unaware world. It depends entirely and forever on your own unbreakable self-command. So there you are, still sitting calmly at that polished boardroom table, or resting your hands lightly on the steering wheel while the driver in the next lane continues their chaotic, red-faced display. You have already recognized their harsh words as mere sound waves, and you have successfully categorized their behavior as the predictable, meaningless barking of an agitated dog. But what exactly do you do in the physical realm while this aggressive display is unfolding right in front of you? What is the practical, real-time technique for completely neutralizing this negative force? The answer lies in constructing what we can call the velvet armor. When the average person anticipates a verbal attack, their immediate biological instinct is to build a rigid wall of stone around themselves. They tense their muscles, clench their jaw, elevate their heart rate, and prepare to deflect the incoming blow with a harder, sharper counterattack. But a stone wall is inherently brittle. When it gets struck hard enough, it inevitably shatters, and the violent impact rattles your nervous system to its very core. The ancient Stoics understood a profound truth about human conflict. The absolute strongest defense is never rigid, angry, or loud. It is soft, deep, and entirely absorbing. Imagine hanging a massive, incredibly thick velvet curtain in the middle of a room, and then watching someone forcefully throw a handful of sharp, heavy rocks directly at it. The rocks do not shatter the curtain. They do not bounce back and create a dramatic, chaotic scene. Instead, they hit the heavy, quiet fabric, lose absolutely all of their forward momentum in a tiny fraction of a second, and simply drop harmlessly to the floor, completely neutralized. This is exactly what your deliberate, unbroken silence accomplishes. When that toxic coworker drops their carefully crafted passive-aggressive bait across the meeting table, they are actively bracing themselves for the loud crash of your reaction. They secretly want the drama. They desperately need the friction of your anger to validate their own internal bitterness and insecurity. But if you consciously deploy your velvet armor, if you simply look at them with a relaxed face, maintain steady, unblinking eye contact, and say absolutely nothing at all, you completely suffocate their attack on impact. Your absolute silence acts as an invisible, heavy barrier that instantly drains all the kinetic energy out of their hostile words. It is incredibly unsettling and deeply uncomfortable for an aggressive person to strike out with all their might and hit absolutely nothing. By refusing to provide the emotional friction they are so desperately seeking, you force them to stand there awkwardly in the quiet room, holding the dead, heavy weight of their own negativity while everyone else watches. The Roman philosopher Seneca wrote extensively about this dynamic, noting that the wisest response to an insult is often to simply let it fall flat. You do not need to prove your strength by shouting louder or crafting a brilliant comeback, because true power is inherently quiet. It does not require any external validation, and it absolutely does not need to justify its existence to someone who is actively trying to drag you down into their personal mud. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Take a slow, deliberate breath that expands your stomach. Feel the solid ground beneath your feet. This physical relaxation instantly translates into psychological invincibility. You are demonstrating to your own brain, and to everyone watching, that this person is simply not significant enough to alter your inner climate. Your velvet armor absorbs their toxic arrows without a single scratch, proving that a modern Stoic never needs to fight to win, because their unbreakable calm is already the ultimate victory. Now that your velvet armor has successfully absorbed the impact, and their hostile words have fallen harmlessly to the floor, you might wonder what you are supposed to do next with the person standing right in front of you. They are standing there in the boardroom, or gripping the steering wheel of their truck, looking expectant, waiting for your furious counterattack. This is the exact moment you must execute what ancient philosophers considered the ultimate psychological maneuver. Your ego desperately wants to label this person as an evil mastermind, a calculated villain who woke up this morning with the sole intention of destroying your day and diminishing your worth. But you must step back and look at them with absolute clarity. Look closely at that coworker whose voice is slightly raised, or that driver whose face is red with unprovoked rage. They are not powerful villains. They are deeply confused, incredibly insecure human beings. You must realize a fundamental truth about human nature. Truly happy, fulfilled, and emotionally secure people simply do not spend their precious time and energy trying to humiliate or intimidate others. It is impossible. Cruelty is always a symptom of profound internal weakness. When that person lashes out at you, they are not acting from a place of strength. They are acting from a place of deep insecurity, attempting to pull you down into the dark, chaotic waters they are secretly drowning in. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus taught his students a brilliant lesson about human behavior centuries ago. He pointed out that no soul ever desires to be deprived of the truth. And people only do wrong because they are fundamentally mistaken about what is good for them. When you are sitting across from that toxic colleague, understand that they genuinely believe their aggression will earn them respect, or that making you look bad will somehow make them look better. It is a tragically flawed perception of reality. Imagine walking into the waiting room of a doctor and having a sick patient suddenly cough loudly in your direction. You would not jump up, clench your fists, and start screaming angrily at the patient for coughing. You would rationally recognize that the cough is nothing more than an involuntary symptom of their underlying physical illness. You must learn to view verbal insults and everyday disrespect exactly the same way. What looks like a calculated attack is actually just a desperate, loud cough from a spiritually sick and deeply untrained mind. Their anger is merely a clumsy defense mechanism designed to protect a very fragile ego. When you finally grasp this concept, the urge to fight back completely vanishes. Why would you ever want to wrestle with someone who is already suffering so deeply inside their own head? As you maintain your absolute silence and hold your unbroken eye contact, allow your perspective to pivot entirely from burning anger to quiet pity. Look right through their aggressive mask and see the frightened, unresolved pain that is actually operating the controls. They are punishing themselves every single day by forcing themselves to live inside such a bitter, hostile perspective. By choosing empathy over ego, you completely sever the final string they were trying to attach to you. You are no longer a targeted victim trying to defend your pride. You become a wise, untouchable observer, standing safely on the shore, while they thrash around desperately in their own personal storm. This profound shift in perspective guarantees that their toxicity cannot find any place to take root in your mind. As you stand there on that quiet shore of your own mind, looking with quiet pity at the person thrashing around in their own emotional storm, your ego might make one final, desperate attempt to drag you back into the mud. That internal voice might whisper a very common, deep-seated fear if you do not say anything back. If you just sit there silently at the boardroom table or stay perfectly still behind the steering wheel of your car, will they not think you are weak? Will the other people watching not assume that you are a coward who has just been defeated? Our modern society has deeply conditioned us to believe that silence is a form of submission, that the loudest person in the room is the victor, and that walking away from a conflict means you have surrendered your honor. But you must completely erase this fundamentally flawed perspective from your mind right now. In the realm of true emotional mastery, silence is absolutely never a surrender. Silence is the ultimate, most devastating expression of untouchable pride. The ancient Stoic philosophers referred to the mind of a wise person as the inner citadel. I want you to vividly imagine a massive, towering fortress built with incredibly thick, unbreakable stone walls, sitting high upon an isolated mountain. Now imagine a confused, angry person standing at the bottom of the mountain, throwing handfuls of tiny gravel at those massive stone walls, aggressively shouting demands and hurling insults into the wind. Would the sovereign ruler sitting peacefully inside that magnificent fortress feel genuinely threatened? Would they rush out the heavy iron gates, waving their arms, desperately trying to convince the angry person to please stop throwing gravel. Of course they would not. The ruler clearly knows that the walls are completely impenetrable, and the gravel is entirely harmless. When you deliberately choose not to react to that toxic coworker or that reckless driver, you are securely locking the gates of your own inner citadel. You are firmly declaring to the universe that your personal value, your professional competence, and your fundamental human dignity do not live out there in the chaotic, unpredictable opinions of a loud and unaware crowd. They live entirely and permanently within your own self-command. The person hurling the insult across the room or across the highway is desperately trying to pull you out of your fortress because they inherently know they have absolutely no power over you as long as you remain safely inside. They secretly want you to abandon your throne, run down the mountain, and wrestle in the dirt with them as an equal. But you must look down at them from the high, quiet walls of your composure and simply refuse the invitation. Your unbroken silence communicates something incredibly devastating to an attacker. It tells them clearly that their personal opinion of you is so completely irrelevant that it does not even warrant the minor physical energy required to move your lips and form a response. It is the ultimate downgrade of their perceived power. You are not holding your tongue out of fear. You are holding your tongue out of a profound realization that engaging with their negativity would be a massive, unnecessary step down for your own character. Epictetus frequently reminded his students that true freedom is always an internal state, a psychological sovereignty so deeply grounded that nobody can ever push your buttons because you have actively removed them from the control panel. As you sit there, maintaining that steady, unblinking eye contact without offering a single defensive word, you are actively exercising that highest form of freedom. You are proving to yourself, to the attacker, and to everyone else watching that your internal emotional climate is regulated by you and you alone. Let the room feel awkward. Let the aggressive driver shout themselves hoarse until their throat hurts. Let the passive-aggressive colleague sit there uncomfortably in the heavy, unbroken silence that you have deliberately created. Their chaos absolutely cannot breach your walls. You have built a psychological fortress of dignity that no insult can ever penetrate. And your quiet restraint is the loudest, most undeniable proof of your absolute and untouchable strength. Let us explore the final, lingering question that your ego might still be desperately whispering from the dark corners of your mind. You are sitting safely inside your inner citadel, completely untouched by the insults echoing in the boardroom or the angry shouts fading away on the highway. Your velvet armor has successfully absorbed the impact, and you have looked upon the attacker with quiet pity rather than burning rage. But still, a part of you deeply demands justice. Our modern culture constantly conditions us to believe that if someone wrongs you, you must forcefully balance the scales. We are taught that revenge is absolutely necessary, that you must deliver a cutting counterattack to ensure they never dare to disrespect you again. But the ancient Stoic philosophers understood a profound psychological secret about retaliation. The absolute most devastating blow you can ever deliver to a toxic person does not require you to raise your voice. craft a clever insult, or lift a single finger. The ultimate vengeance is simply an absolute refusal to participate. Think deeply about what an aggressive person actually wants when they hurl an insult in your direction. They are desperately seeking a mirror. They actively want to see their own chaotic, bitter energy reflected right back at them because it subconsciously validates their miserable internal state. If they can successfully make you angry, if they can make you shout and lose your hard-earned composure, they feel a sudden, sick sense of superiority. They have successfully dragged you down into their personal swamp. But what exactly happens when you completely deny them that twisted satisfaction? What happens when you maintain your steady eye contact, keep your breathing slow and deliberate, and offer absolutely nothing but a heavy, unbreakable silence? You literally force them to stand there in the glaring light of their own inappropriate behavior, without your dramatic anger to distract from their toxicity. Everyone in the room suddenly sees them exactly for what they are: out of control, emotionally fragile, and deeply insecure. Your absolute restraint becomes a spotless mirror that reflects their own ugliness directly back into their face. The great Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius, a man who literally possessed the military power to instantly crush any person who dared to insult him, chose instead to wield a much more sophisticated and permanent weapon. He wrote in his private journal that the absolute best revenge is to simply not be like your enemy. Let that brilliant truth sink into your mind. The absolute best revenge is to not be like your enemy. If you scream back at the angry driver, you immediately become the angry driver. If you drop a sharp, passive-aggressive remark to retaliate against your toxic coworker, you instantly become the toxic coworker. You voluntarily infect yourself with the exact same emotional disease that you are supposedly fighting against. True justice is always found in your complete refusal to be corrupted, by maintaining your dignified, unbroken silence. You are effectively telling your attacker that their behavior is so far beneath your personal standards that you will not even lower yourself to acknowledge it. It is a profound, silent rejection of their entire way of being. Your unshakable calm is the most painful, punishing answer you could ever possibly give to someone who desperately wanted to see you break. It proves, without a single spoken word, that you operate on an entirely different level of human maturity. So, as you sit there at the polished boardroom table or firmly behind the steering wheel of your car, completely let go of the desperate, childish need for a clever comeback. Let the other person completely exhaust themselves thrashing around in the mud, while you remain standing firmly on solid ground, clean, focused, and absolutely untouchable. Your restraint is not just a protective defense mechanism, it is the ultimate, undeniable victory. As you finally drive away from that chaotic stretch of the highway, or as you calmly gather your papers and walk out of that tense boardroom, you will notice a profound shift occurring within your own body. The familiar burning heat in your chest has completely vanished. Your heart rate is steady, and your breathing is deep and relaxed. The person who tried so desperately to provoke you is left behind, completely exhausted by their own futile anger, while you carry your peace of mind with you, entirely intact. You have just successfully executed one of the most difficult and powerful psychological maneuvers a human being can master. You have neutralized a hostile attack without speaking a single defensive word. Let us take a moment to reflect on the immense power you have just reclaimed. When you choose to step out of the ego trap, you fundamentally change the rules of human interaction. You recognize that an insult is nothing more than temporary sound waves vibrating in the empty air. And you refuse to let invisible noise dictate your reality. By intentionally cutting the invisible strings connecting their bitterness to your nervous system, you stop being a helpless puppet dancing for a toxic master. You realize that responding to everyday disrespect is as ridiculous as getting down on your hands and knees to bark back at an agitated dog behind a chain-link fence. Instead, you wrap yourself in the heavy, absorbing protection of your velvet armor, letting their sharpest words drop harmlessly to the floor. You choose to look right through their aggressive mask with quiet pity, recognizing that their cruelty is merely a symptom of their own deep internal suffering. You safely secure the heavy iron gates of your own inner citadel, proving beyond a shadow of a doubt that your fundamental dignity and your personal worth do not live out there in the unpredictable opinions of the crowd, but entirely within your own unbreakable self-command. And ultimately, you apply the profound wisdom of the great ancient philosophers, understanding that the absolute best revenge you can ever take is simply not to be like the enemy who is trying to destroy you. This is the true essence of emotional sovereignty. It is the absolute realization that nobody in this world has the power to make you feel inferior, angry, or small unless you voluntarily hand them the ultimate permission to do so. In a modern society that constantly profits from your outrage and continuously begs for your emotional reaction, your deliberate silence becomes an act of absolute rebellion. You are actively choosing to preserve your vital energy for the things that truly matter in your life, such as your goals, your loved ones, and your own personal growth. Why would you ever waste a single ounce of your precious potential wrestling in the dirt with someone who does not even understand the chaotic workings of their own mind? True strength is never found in shouting the loudest, crafting the most vicious comeback, or dominating a petty argument. True strength is found in the absolute, quiet certainty that you are the sole ruler of your inner climate. The world outside will always be chaotic. You will inevitably encounter rude strangers, toxic coworkers, and unpredictable drivers. Life will constantly test the impenetrable walls of your fortress. But you do not need to fight the storm. You only need to remain the calm center completely within it. If this journey into emotional mastery has helped you find a deep sense of stillness today, and if you feel absolutely ready to drop the exhausting burden of constant reaction to step into your true power, then I invite you to subscribe to this channel and join our growing community. Together, we will continue to explore these timeless, powerful frameworks, equipping your mind with the unbreakable mental armor you need to navigate this loud, reactive world with absolute grace and unshakable confidence. Do not just survive the daily chaos, learn to master it entirely. Thank you for sharing your valuable time and your focused attention today. Keep your velvet armor strong. Guard the heavy gates of your inner citadel, And always remember that your absolute calm is your greatest and most undeniable victory. The world will never stop testing your limits with unpredictable chaos and toxic people. But you do not need to fight the storm when you can simply remain the calm center within it. The next time someone tries to pull you into their personal misery, remember that your absolute silence is your impenetrable armor. If you are ready to drop the exhausting burden of constant reaction and step into your true emotional power, subscribe to this channel and join our community. Together, we will build the unbreakable mental fortitude you need to master this loud world. Keep your inner citadel secure, and remember that your unshakable calm is your ultimate victory. See you next video.